All right, let's dive into one of the most talked about, most controversial books out there. We're talking about The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. And let's be clear, this isn't some feel-good motivational book. It's a cold, hard look at how the world really works. So, you've probably heard it called the most dangerous self-help book ever written. Why? Well, it's not because it's violence. It's dangerous because it's honest. It just pulls the curtain all the way back and shows you the raw mechanics of power, with all the pleasantries stripped away. And just think about who reads this stuff. You've got billionaires in boardrooms, you've got leaders of prison gangs, you've got politicians on the campaign trail. I mean, when that wide a range of people are studying the same playbook, that tells you something, doesn't it? It tells you there's a fundamental truth in there, as uncomfortable as it might be.
But that brings up a really good question. If it's so useful to so many people, why does it have such a bad reputation? To get that, we need to look at the game behind the game.
Here's the first thing you have to understand. Robert Greene didn't invent these laws. He wasn't sitting in a room just dreaming them up. No, he was more like a historian or a detective, combing through thousands of years of history, looking for patterns. This book is basically his field report on human nature. And this is exactly why the book can make you feel a bit queasy, because the wisdom in it comes from kings and generals, for sure, but it also comes from master con artists and revolutionaries. It shows that power operates on its own set of rules, and frankly, those rules don't care about your good intentions. They're just there, like gravity. Now, 48 laws is a lot to take in. It can feel pretty overwhelming, but here's a little secret. You don't really have to memorize all 48. If you can just get a handle on these 5 core patterns, you've basically unlocked the entire philosophy of the book. Let's break them down. Okay, first up, a classic. Never outshine the master. This isn't about being a sycophant or a suck-up. It's pure human psychology. People in power, especially if they're a little insecure, don't want a subordinate who's so brilliant they make them look bad. They want someone who makes them look good. Making your boss feel smart isn't just nice, it's strategic. And what does this all boil down to? One simple, powerful word: ego. Learning to manage the egos of the people around you, building them up, soothing them, avoiding threatening them, is one of the most fundamental skills you can have. Next up, conceal your intentions. I mean, think about it. In a game of chess, are you going to tell your opponent your next 5 moves? Of course not. That's a surefire way to lose. Well, life's kind of like that. Predictability makes you vulnerable. This is why a little bit of a fog is a strategic advantage. You know, being a completely open book can actually work against you. A little bit of ambiguity keeps people guessing, and it keeps your options open.
Oh man, this one feels like it was written for the 21st century, doesn't it? The basic idea is that in the world of power, being ignored is the same thing as being irrelevant. Any attention, even negative attention, is better than no attention at all. Silence is death.
The key principle here is visibility. You can be the most talented person in the room, but if no one knows who you are, it doesn't matter. You have to be seen to have influence. It's just the price of admission. Okay, now this one sounds pretty brutal. I get it. But let's look at the cold logic. It's not about being needlessly cruel. It's about preventing a problem down the road. If you win a fight, but you let your opponent limp away with the ability and the desire for revenge, have you really won? Or have you just scheduled your next fight?
What this is really about is closure. When a conflict is over, make sure it's over. Don't leave any little embers smoldering that could flare up into a wildfire later on. This last one, Law 48, this might be the most powerful one of them all. Be formless. The strongest thing in the world isn't the giant rock. It's the water that can flow around it or crash right through it. Being rigid makes you predictable, makes you breakable. So, the ultimate form of strength isn't brute force. It's adaptability. When you're flexible, when you can change and pivot, you become impossible to pin down. You become unstoppable. Okay, so we've gone through the mechanics, but this is where almost everyone who talks about this book stops. And they're missing the most critical piece of the puzzle. There is a huge, profound danger in all of this. What happens when you get so obsessed with the rules, so focused on the moves, that you lose yourself in the game? What happens when these laws become your whole identity, and you forget there's a human being underneath it all? And that's the tragedy, isn't it? The promise of power leads to the reality of paranoia. You chase control, you end up totally isolated. You chase victory at any cost, and you create the conditions for your own collapse. History is just littered with the stories of brilliant strategists who were consumed by the very game they mastered.
So what's the solution? How do smart people use this knowledge? Well, they don't treat it like a weapon to go out and conquer the world. They treat it like a defense system. Think of it as a really, really sophisticated radar.
Your radar helps you see what's really going on. You learn to recognize when these laws are being used on you. It helps you navigate tricky office politics, understand what people really want, and protect yourself and your work. And maybe most importantly, it teaches you which battles aren't worth fighting at all. So let's tie this all together. The 48 Laws of Power is not a moral instruction manual. It's not a Bible, it's a mirror. It just reflects the way power works in the world, especially when people decide to take morality out of the equation. And that leaves you with a choice. You can ignore these laws and risk being naive. You can obsess over them and become paranoid and dangerous to yourself and others. Or you can choose the third path. You can simply understand them and use that understanding to move through the world with wisdom and strategic clarity. In the end, power itself isn't good or evil. It's a force, just like fire. And any powerful force has to be understood before it can be handled safely. How you choose to use that understanding, well, that's up to you.